Okay, so this is Oliver Art Center's 20 questions. My name is Mercedes Michalowski and I'm the executive director. And I'm jumping right in with question number 1. Will you please introduce yourself?
My name is Mark Mehaffey. I am a painter, artist, living in Empire. Love it. And my work is about split 50-50 between internal abstraction and landscape-based acrylic and watercolor.
Fabulous. So that kind of leads us right into what is your favorite medium?
Oh, I had a long discussion with my wife about that. In the past, I guess my first love is transparent watercolor on paper. But honestly, at this point in my life, I'm about 50-50 split between watercolor, water media, which includes gouache, and the other 50% is acrylic and mixed media.
Okay. When did your interest in art begin?
I had one of those, psychologists have studied this. I had one of those flash moments as a child, and it started me down this road. I was 10, I distinctly remember it. I walked through a friend's house. His father was an artist. All his materials were laid out, his brushes and his paper. He was a watercolor painter, and I was in the 4th grade, and I walked through, I was mesmerized, stood still and stared at everything for a very long time. And from that day on, I was a painter. So from the age of 10, I'm not going to tell you how old I am right now, but that's a lot of years of painting.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. You're one of the lucky ones that found it early too.
Yeah, absolutely. And my 4th grade teacher encouraged me to draw and paint as often as she could. I think it was to keep me out of her hair.
Well, that's one of the techniques I use with my child. So
Yeah,
that's probably true.
Yeah.
So who and what inspires you?
Well, primarily now, especially that we live in northern Michigan. We moved from Williamston, Michigan, which is central Michigan. We were there for 31 years after my teaching career. And then all our family moved up here. So 3 years ago, we moved up. And our side yard is actually part of Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore. So we can walk out of our house and be hiking in the park in about a minute. And so the park, the dunes, the water, and especially the deep woods, because we mostly walk off the trails where nobody else walks, the deep woods. And so all of that, of course, inspires me.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So this is kind of one of our fun questions provided by Brian, our associate director.
I know Brian.
If your artwork were to be classified as a musical genre, what genre would it be?
I'm gonna say jazz.
Okay.
And some of it unsyncopated run-on jazz.
Okay.
And some of it experimental fusion.
Fabulous. That's a great answer. And can you give us a verbal snapshot of your current work?
Internally based, idea-based, content-based paintings, more based on the inside of me than the external work.
Okay. If you could use only the shades and tones of just one color in your artwork, what color would it be?
I can't pick something like that. My favorite color, and has been for a long time, is violet.
Okay.
And red violet, blue violet, violet. And I have a tendency to wear those colors actually. But when I paint, at least in plein air, I push towards neutrals sometimes. It just depends on the problem I want to solve at that particular time. So.
Okay.
Everything.
What is your favorite tool in your art toolkit?
Brushes.
Okay.
So the last time I counted brushes, the last time I counted them, I had 348, and that was quite a few years ago. So I have Crocs. Am I being recorded so people can actually see me up there? Oh, so I have Crocs, about this big around. 7 or 8 of them filled with watercolor water media brushes
Okay.
on one of my big drafting tables. And then behind me on the counter, I have 6 or 7 more crocks, maybe 8 or 9 more crocks, also this big around, filled with brushes for acrylic. And then underneath the sink, I have the brushes for matte medium, glue, scrubbing, gessoing, and brushes that are no longer serviceable in the first 2 groups go underneath the sink. So I bet you I'm pushing towards 400 brushes of one variety or another. How many do I actually use? The same 6 or 7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. But they're there if I need them, you know?
Exactly. You never know.
I can't go into a art supply store without buying a brush.
Mhm.
I
Well,
have to.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your least favorite tool?
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. Palette knife. I'm learning that one, I guess. I don't use it often. I keep a set around. Occasionally I like to fuss with edges, or I need a palette knife for a straight edge or a line. It's just not a tool that I'm real familiar with.
Mhm.
And so I am, even at this late stage, I'm still learning what that one will do. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. So what is the best piece of advice you've been given?
Um, my dad gave me this piece of advice when I was very young, and he said, makes no difference what you decide to do. Once you decide, work really, really hard.
Mhm.
So good advice for everything.
That is good advice for everything.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to work solo or in collaboration with others?
I don't do artwork in collaboration. I do like the company of others when I'm painting in plein air,
Mhm.
because once I get locked into the painting process, I'm locked in. I could be anywhere and anything could be going on around me and I wouldn't notice it. But I like the camaraderie of painting out with others. So
Mhm.
I try to do that once a week or so. And there's a bunch of people in this area that like to do it. And so sometimes I'll get a call and sometimes I can make it. Sometimes I can't. I'm thinking of somebody that I wish I could have joined yesterday, as a matter of fact. And then sometimes I'll call 2 or 3 people and they can't make it. I'll go alone or one person will join me. It's just kind of a fun group in the whole area up here that likes to paint out. So I do enjoy that. But most of the time I'm isolated alone in my studio.
Mhm.
And I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get focus.
Yes.
So another one of our fun questions, which famous artist would make a good president of the United States?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a bumper sticker that says something like the people that should be running this country are all teaching school.
Mhm.
And so based on what I think about politics, practically anybody could do a better job than is being done. That's as
Okay.
political as I'm going to get.
And that's just fine.
Yes.
So, in keeping with the, kind of fun questions, what is your favorite meal?
Oh, like the next one. So my whole life, especially as I age, my whole life revolves around what's going to be the next meal. So we're meeting some friends for lunch, and I've already explored the menu and what they have to offer. And then as soon as I finish lunch, I'll start wondering what's for dinner.
Yeah.
So that's already been discussed too. Yeah, that and dessert are big items of discussion. Yeah.
Well, I remember when I first became a mom and I called my mother and apologized. And she said, "What are you apologizing for?" I said, "I'm apologizing for all those times I walked through the door and said, 'What's for dinner?'" I said, "Now that I'm married and a mom, I know how obnoxious that question is."
Yeah, yeah. You should talk to Rosie about that
Yeah.
also. Uh-huh.
And she
Yeah,
just laughed and went, "Mm-hmm,
yeah,
karma."
yeah. But bless her heart, she'll ask, "Oh, okay, what do you want for dinner?" Because there might be 2 choices. Yeah. And then every now and again, I cook too.
Mhm.
So, yep.
So what type of art or which artist hangs on the walls in your own home?
Yeah. I'm staring at a friend of mine's work. Of course, my house is filled mostly with my paintings, but I just traded paintings with Scott Hamill. He's a landscape painter. I painted with him out of California. And then I have a Jennifer McChristian hanging in the bedroom, and she and I traded paintings quite a few years ago. And I have a lot of watercolor friends that I've traded paintings with. It's just a nice sort of an honor when somebody either asks or I ask and they say, sure, let's trade paintings. So there are quite a few paintings in the house of friends, people that I know, and we've just traded work, and I enjoy what they do and their company. So I sort of do that. If we purchase artwork, and we do that also occasionally, most artists do, lots of times it's ceramicists that we enjoy. So we have quite a bit of ceramic pieces in the house. And then every now and again, we'll buy a small painting, either because we love it or we want to, and we want to encourage that person to keep going. Yeah. So a lot of artists are also collectors, which is a good thing. Yeah.
Very true. What advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah. I probably would have saved more money. But you know, when you're younger, especially when we were younger, and we don't have kids, so that was a good thing. That saved us a whole lot of money, not to mention angst. We enjoy the nieces and nephews, but we probably would have saved more. Just it would have made us slightly more comfortable. You know, we're very fortunate to be comfortable, but we blew a lot of money playing. There's no doubt about that. I'm not going to go into those stories, but you're laughing, and I know that you know. Uh-huh.
Yep, I do.
Yeah, this is being recorded, and somebody's going to go, yep, I know what he's talking about.
I remember that time, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So this is another one of our fun ones. If you could travel backward or forward to make art for a week, what date and time would you choose?
500 years in the future.
In the future, okay.
Yeah, I am a niche reader. I read only one kind of literature, and I've only read that kind of literature since I was 12, and that's hard science fiction based on the laws of physics. And I was born 500 years too soon, maybe even more. I want to be around when we have faster than light travel.
Okay.
So I would like to make art during that time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So is there anything you have to have when you make art, whether it's music or a certain coffee cup or a certain t-shirt that you wear?
Yeah, you know, I like my studio. It's sort of set up, sort of semi-chaos, 3 or 4 different stations. And so I know where everything is. Nobody can touch anything in my studio. It can't be picked up. That's a rule. Don't talk to Rosie about that one, because the rest of the house doesn't follow that rule. So everything is where it's supposed to be. And so you know, it'd be hard to not deal with my studio, not have my studio available. But when I paint out, you know, everything goes in a backpack. And so everything's right there also. I guess if I had to not give up something, it'd be a pencil. Yeah.
Okay. So is there a gallery that you would love to have your work featured in, and which one? Gallery or museum?
Yeah, always it's that museum show that we're thinking about. We're fortunate in that respect. There's 4 or 5 museums that have collected my work over the years. The closest one is the Muskegon Museum of Art. And then across the lake, the Neville Public Museum has a piece in their permanent collection. And then a couple in China actually have collected my work. They're very much into watercolor. And so museums in China are acquiring watercolor works from around the world. Really fortunate in that respect. There's a lot of great galleries in this area that carry my work also. Should I mention those?
You can, because they're actually question number 20. So.
Oh, are they? Okay. Yeah. Well, I have to mention C2C Gallery, which, like a lot of galleries, is no longer a brick and mortar gallery. They've gone entirely virtual. And Cindy Cashmere, who owns that gallery, has gone virtual. To her credit, she's very up to date with current technology. And I've been with that gallery for years and years. They were Grand Haven based. She's done quite well. Since we moved up north, and actually I was part of these two galleries before we moved, Dave at Synchronicity Gallery in Glen Arbor carries my work, and Lynn and Bob in Twisted Fish in Elk Rapids. They do a marvelous job, and they're fun folks to be around. So both of those galleries carry my work. Yep. And then Grayling, Michigan, which is in the middle of the state, kind of a fly fishing mecca. Bright Rain Gallery right on the main street also carries my work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. So then we'll just move into the final question. How do you know when a work is finished?
Yeah, that's a good one. So the advice when I'm teaching, I wish I could follow for myself. So when I'm teaching, I always give this advice. Stop the first time it enters your head to stop. And then, of course, you know, if one little touch with a brush makes it better, 3 more touches with the brush might make it great, but that isn't often the case. So usually what I do is I know when I should stop. So I stop, I put it on the easel, and then I stare at it for a week or 2 before I sign it. And usually during that first week or 2, if something needs to be changed, I'll change it at that time. Often it doesn't. It just sits there. And if it just sits there and I like it coming and going, then I sign it. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Yeah, it's the overworking thing is the issue for all of us. There are a whole lot of paintings where I wish I would have stopped 3/4 of the way in. Instead, you overwork it. But there's always gesso, you can always just paint over it or paint over some or ghost a little bit or, keep a little part and do something else with the rest of it. Yeah. Playtime.
Well, awesome. Well, that wraps up those 20 questions, Mark, and I appreciate you being here and doing this with us.
No, it's fun. It's a good activity. I'll be interested to see what the reaction is to all of these.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to get to know people a little bit more and in a less than formal setting. And, I wait for the day that we don't have to do Zooms, that we can do things in person again, but, we work with what we can.
And unfortunately, because of this past year, more than a year, I've gotten the whole Zoom setup in my studio. So I have 2 webcams now and a laptop computer. I could sign up and offer a Zoom class. I'm doing that in a couple places. So actually, some people like it because they don't have to travel. And it costs less money to take a class via Zoom. So I think it's here to stay.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. You're right. We've definitely heard from some of our members and constituents that they do like the flexibility, of the virtual programming. And as much as we miss seeing people in the galleries, you gotta just kind of make things work and adjust with the times. So.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to my in-person class, August 2nd and 3rd, I think. Plein air painting at the center. That should be fun too.
Yep, you are close to full, so.
Oh, well, that's good news, and a lot of time left.
It'll be a great class.
Hey, put them on the waiting list. Maybe we can offer a second 2-day class.
That would be wonderful.
There we go. Maybe fall color or something like that.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, awesome. Well, thank you, Mark. I hope you have a great day and a nice lunch with your friends, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, see ya. Thank you.